Daniel's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered immediately. Vanessa? Silence. Then his expression changed completely. What? Amara stood up. What happened? Daniel looked like the world had just collapsed. That was the police. Vanessa's car had been found near 3rd Mainland Bridge. Empty. Her phone and bag were still inside. But Vanessa was gone. For 3 days, the city searched. News stations covered the story. Social media exploded with theories. Some believed she committed suicide. Others believed she was kidnapped. And then, the police discovered something disturbing. A note inside the car, written in Vanessa's handwriting. If I disappear, ask Daniel who replaced me. The rain fell heavily against the windshield as Daniel gripped the steering wheel, his mind far from the road ahead. His wife, Vanessa, had called him 12 times that evening. 12 missed calls. Not because he was busy, not because he didn't hear them, but because he was tired. Tired of the accusations. Tired of the cold silence at home. Tired of living like a stranger inside his own marriage. At 38, Daniel had everything people admired from a distance. A successful architecture company, a beautiful house in Lagos, expensive cars, and a wife everyone called perfect. But perfection was a dangerous disguise. Vanessa controlled everything. Who he spoke to, where he went, what he posted online, even the way he laughed around other women. And somehow, he had slowly stopped being himself. The loud thunder startled him back to reality. His car suddenly jerked, then died. Not now, he muttered angrily. He tried the ignition again. Nothing. The road was nearly empty, except for a small cafe glowing warmly across the street. With no other option, Daniel grabbed his coat and ran through the rain toward the cafe. The little bell above the door jingled as he entered. Warm air wrapped around him instantly. Soft jazz music played quietly. And behind the counter stood a woman. She looked up. Their eyes met. For a strange second, Daniel forgot the rain, forgot the broken car, forgot everything. She was beautiful, but not in the loud, attention-seeking way Vanessa was. This woman looked peaceful, like someone who had survived pain and learned how to smile again. "Rough night?" she asked softly. Daniel gave a tired chuckle. "Is it that obvious?" "A little." She handed him a towel. Their fingers brushed slightly, and something unexplainable moved through him. "My car broke down," he said. "Well," she smiled gently, "you're lucky the storm forced you here. We make the best coffee in Lagos." For the first time in months, Daniel smiled genuinely. "My name is Amara." Daniel. That night was supposed to end with coffee. Nothing more. But life had other plans. Over the next few weeks, Daniel kept finding reasons to return to the cafe. First, it was innocent. A cup of coffee before work. A quiet place to think. A temporary escape from the tension at home. But slowly, Amara became the reason. She listened when he spoke. Really listened. She laughed at his dry jokes. Remembered little things he said. Asked how his day went. Simple things. Things his wife had stopped doing years ago. One evening, as the cafe prepared to close, Amara sat across from him. "You look happier lately," she said. Daniel looked down at his cup. "Doi." "Yes." He hesitated, then sighed deeply. "I don't remember the last time someone noticed how I felt." Amara's expression softened. "You can talk to me." And somehow, he did. Not all at once. Just pieces. The loneliness, the endless fights, the emotional exhaustion. But he never insulted Vanessa. Even with all the pain, he still respected the vows he made. Amara admired that about him. And that scared her, because she was beginning to care too much. One Friday night, Daniel arrived looking disturbed. His knuckles were bruised. Amara rushed toward him. "What happened?" "Nothing." "Daniel." He looked away. "Vanessa threw a glass at me." Silence. Amara's heart tightened painfully. "She apologized after," he added quickly. "She didn't mean it." But the sadness in his eyes told another story. Amara sat beside him quietly. You shouldn't have to survive love, she whispered. Daniel looked at her, really looked at her, and suddenly the air between them changed. Dangerously, his voice became low. Do you ever meet someone at the wrong time? Amara's breathing slowed. All the time. The tension was unbearable. One move, one touch, and everything would cross the line. But instead, Daniel stood up abruptly. I should go. Amara nodded slowly, even though part of her wanted him to stay. As he reached the door, he stopped. Without turning around, he said softly, I wish I met you before my wife. Then he walked out into the night, and Amara stood there frozen, because she wished the same thing. Days passed. Daniel stopped coming. No calls, no messages, nothing. Amara told herself it was for the best. But every time the cafe door opened, her heart still looked for him. Then one evening, he returned. But he wasn't alone. Vanessa stood beside him. Elegant, sharp, beautiful, and cold. Daniel looked uncomfortable. Amara, he said carefully. This is my wife. Vanessa smiled politely. Too politely. So, Vanessa said, scanning Amara slowly. You're the cafe woman. Amara frowned slightly.
I'm sorry.
Vanessa stepped closer. The woman my husband suddenly can't stop talking about. Daniel stiffened. Vanessa. No, let's be honest, she snapped. The entire cafe became silent. Vanessa looked directly at Amara. Did you enjoy playing therapist to a married man? Amara swallowed hard. We're just friends. Vanessa laughed bitterly. A man doesn't look at a woman the way my husband looks at you unless something is happening. Daniel slammed his hand on the counter. Enough! Everyone jumped. Vanessa stared at him in shock. It was probably the first time he had ever raised his voice at her. His chest rose heavily. Then he looked at Amara, and the pain in his eyes broke her heart. I'm sorry, he whispered. He grabbed Vanessa's arm gently and left. But not before Amara saw something terrifying in Vanessa's expression. Jealousy, the dangerous kind. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Then around midnight, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered carefully. Hello. Heavy breathing. Then Vanessa's voice. You think you won. Amara sat up immediately. I'm not trying to take your husband. You already did. That's not true. Vanessa laughed softly. You know what's funny? Daniel used to look at me the way he looks at you now. Amara stayed silent. Then Vanessa whispered something chilling. If I can't have his heart anymore, nobody will. The call ended. Amara's blood ran cold. The next morning, Daniel arrived at the cafe looking panicked. Have you spoken to Vanessa? Amara nodded slowly. She called me. His face paled. She left home last night. I can't find her. Fear crawled through Amara's stomach. What do you mean you can't find her? She took her car and disappeared. Before Amara could respond, Daniel's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered immediately. Vanessa? Silence. Then his expression changed completely. What? Amara stood up. What happened? Daniel looked like the world had just collapsed. That was the police. Vanessa's car had been found near 3rd Mainland Bridge. Empty. Her phone and bag were still inside. But Vanessa was gone. For 3 days, the city searched. News stations covered the story. Social media exploded with theories. Some believed she committed suicide. Others believed she was kidnapped. And then, the police discovered something disturbing. A note inside the car, written in Vanessa's handwriting. If I disappear, ask Daniel who replaced me. Suddenly everything turned ugly. People online began accusing Amara. Homewrecker, mistress, gold digger. The cafe lost customers overnight. Daniel felt helpless. I never wanted this, he told Amara painfully. She looked exhausted. Neither did I. But despite the chaos, their connection only grew stronger. Because pain has a strange way of pulling wounded people together. A week later, Daniel received another call. This time from Vanessa herself. She was alive, and she wanted to meet him alone. Against everyone's advice, Daniel went. The abandoned beach house was quiet except for crashing waves. Vanessa sat near the window wearing white. She looked calm. Too calm. You scared everyone, Daniel said carefully. She smiled faintly. I needed you to feel what losing me would be like. Daniel stared at her in disbelief. You faked your disappearance? Tears filled her eyes. You stopped loving me. Daniel's expression softened sadly. Vanessa. No, she cried. Tell me the truth. Silence. Long, painful silence. Then finally, I don't know when it happened, Daniel whispered. But somewhere along the way, we destroyed each other. Vanessa broke down completely. I tried so hard to keep you. You tried to control me. Because I was afraid. Daniel closed his eyes painfully. I stayed because I made a promise to you. And now, his voice cracked slightly. Now I feel empty. Vanessa wiped her tears slowly. Because of her? Daniel said nothing. And that silence answered everything. Vanessa laughed weakly through tears. You really love her. For the first time, Daniel admitted it to himself. Yes. The word shattered the room. Vanessa nodded slowly, as if she had already known. Then she whispered the saddest thing he had ever heard. I think I stopped being your piece a long time ago. Months later, the divorce became final. Quiet, messy, painful. Vanessa moved abroad to start over. Daniel heard she entered therapy. And honestly, he hoped she healed. Because despite everything, she wasn't evil. Just broken. And broken people sometimes break the ones they love. As for Amara, she kept her distance from Daniel throughout the divorce. Not because she didn't love him, but because she refused to become the reason another woman suffered. That made Daniel respect her even more. Then one evening, almost a year after the rainy night that changed everything, Daniel walked into the cafe again. Amara looked up from the counter and smiled. Your usual coffee? He shook his head gently. No. She raised an eyebrow. Then what do you want? Daniel stepped closer, close enough to hear each other breathe. Then he said softly, I want the chance I should have had years ago. Amara's heart trembled. You still say that? Daniel smiled sadly. Every day. Then quietly, almost like a confession to fate itself. I wish I met you before my wife. Amara stared at him for a long moment, then finally whispered, maybe we met exactly when we were supposed to. Outside, rain began to fall again. But this time, neither of them feared the storm.
Caught up in the emotions already? Eyes red heart? Then you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. From heartbreaking betrayals to deep romance, shocking twists, and unforgettable endings, this channel is packed with the kind of juicy stories that keep you glued to the screen. Clapperboard sparkles. Hit that subscribe button now and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to watch every new story the moment it drops.